And Hong Kong welcomed Asia's first spot Bitcoin and either exchange-traded funds or ETFs as the city races to become a regional virtual asset investment hub. 6 such funds debuted to the upside, with 3 Bitcoin ETFs opening up more than 3% during the day, but they pared some gains, recording an average price rise of nearly 1.7% on that first trading day. Now, Asia's first such listing comes 3 months after the US launched its first ETFs to track Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency is banned in mainland China, but Hong Kong is promoting itself as a global digital asset hub as a way to boost its standing as a financial center.
Right, so Henry, on that note, help us understand this. So even though the city has the ambition to vie with the US for funds, today's launch didn't quite generate the sort of, I would say, excitement or the response that we've seen on Wall Street. Why is that?
Yeah, so we can basically analyze the differences from 2 aspects. The first one, we're talking about that trading volume. The second aspect from its impact on cryptocurrency prices in general. So if we talk about the trading volume, so 6.3 million in Hong Kong for the first half of the day. Even if we triple, quadruple, tenfold that amount, it's still quite far away from the 4.6 billion US dollar generated for the first time in the US back in January. And secondly, let's talk also about its impact on Bitcoin prices. Throughout the day, if we look at Bitcoin prices, it's stalling at 63,000 level amid increased outflows, and it's actually under a lot of pressure recently. So that's also a drastic contrast compared with what we saw during the US spot Bitcoin launches. Remember, Bitcoin nearly doubled in price during the 3 months leading up to the January the 11th debut in the US, and certainly propelled Bitcoin over its 73K mark back in March. So why we see that drastic differences? So I've asked some analysts. Basically, they say we can analyze the factor from 4 perspectives. First, of course, we know that the market size from Hong Kong and Wall Street is hugely different. Hong Kong is much more smaller. And secondly, despite Hong Kong's market sentiment now improving, entering in a bull market, if we see the past 7 days, quite nice. But overall, the sentiment still remains pretty fragile considering the weak economic recovery in China. The third point, of course, is we know that the Bitcoin launched in Hong Kong is mainly targeting mainland investors. But ironically, cryptocurrencies are still banned in China, which means perhaps mainland investors are not that interested this time around. And also, it's something that affecting the whole picture of the Bitcoin prices. We're talking about higher for longer interest rate for the Federal Reserve.
Very interesting that you've brought that up. Because I believe there were also expectations that Bitcoin, they had a halving event in April, which is supposed to drive up the asset's value. So did it?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. So it's widely expected to make a bang in terms of driving up crypto prices, like you've mentioned. But actually, at the end of the day, it didn't live up to the hype. And historically, such events will lead up to Bitcoin prices surging and a sustained growth for a couple of months at least. But this time around, Bitcoin prices hasn't gained. Actually, it's down by 3% since the start of the halving events, the 4th halving event on April the 19th this time around. But, you know, analysts are saying just because we didn't see that price jump now, it doesn't mean that over the long term we won't see that, because after all, the Bitcoin halving event is something that could shape up the supply and demand dynamic of the system. That's why, like, investors, traders could all be impacted. So if we look at the long term, it's still a high chance there that the prices would go up, according to Standard Chartered at least.
All right, so wait and see. Well, thanks so very much, Henry, for joining us this evening.